I am 88 years old, and I don't even forget my grocery list. It may sound exaggerated, but I assure you it's real, and it wasn't always this way. There was a time, not so long ago, when my mind felt like a drawer full of loose papers. I'd open the refrigerator door and not know what I was looking for. I'd go into the bathroom with a purpose, and once I got there, I'd draw a blank. I'd forget conversations, the names of loved ones, even important dates. I felt frustrated, I felt ashamed, and worst of all, I began to think it was inevitable, that it was normal to forget everything as you got older, that memory slipped away like hair or muscle tone in your legs. But one day, something changed, a simple 3-minute habit. Nothing complicated, no pills, no gadgets, no fancy techniques. 3 minutes a day was enough so that, little by little, the fog in my head began to lift. At first, I didn't notice, but after a week, I started to recall details that used to escape me. Words, faces, tasks, and most important of all, I felt my mind was mine again, that I wasn't doomed to depend on notes, reminders, or other people's good memories. That's why I'm here today, because if you're experiencing something similar, if lately you forget where you left your keys, if you struggle to remember what you were going to say, or why you entered a room, I want to tell you this very clearly. It's not the end. There are ways to improve, and they require nothing more than a bit of consistency and a willingness to try something new. In this video, I'll tell you exactly what that habit is, how I discovered it, how I apply it, and why it works. I'll explain it step by step, without technicalities, with real, simple examples so you can start today. But before we continue, I want to know something about you. I'd love to get to know you a little better. How old are you, and from which country are you watching me? Leave it in the comments. I always read what you write, and it warms my heart to know there are so many of us sharing this stage of life with curiosity and eagerness to improve. Now then, let's begin, because reclaiming your memory could be just 3 minutes away. The silent decline, when memory begins to fail. It all started with small details, things anyone might overlook. I'd forget whether I'd locked the door. I'd rise from my chair with an idea in mind, but upon reaching the kitchen, I no longer knew what I was looking for. I'd leave my glasses on the table and minutes later find myself wandering through the house as if they'd vanished. At first, I laughed at myself. I said it was absent-mindedness, just a sign of age. But inside me, a discomfort was growing that I didn't know how to explain, because those lapses, no matter how small, began to pile up, and each time it happened, I felt a bit less myself. What had once been an alert mind, capable of recalling details, dates, names, even full conversations, now felt like a radio with poor reception. Sometimes it came through clearly, other times it just emitted a confusing noise, a word that wouldn't come out, a face I couldn't place, an appointment that slipped away. And with each lapse came a feeling that's hard to describe, a mix of shame and sadness. The worst moment was the day I forgot a conversation with my grandson. We talked on the phone one afternoon. He told me he was going to perform at school, that he was excited, that he hoped I could come. I told him yes, that I wouldn't miss it. But by the time the day came, I had completely forgotten. When his mother called me upset, asking why I hadn't shown up, I felt something inside me break. I had no excuse, no reason. I had simply forgotten. And when I spoke to my grandson again, his voice didn't sound the same. He didn't scold me, he said nothing, but his silence hurt more than any reproach. That night I couldn't sleep. I thought of all the times I'd watched my father in his final years and told myself, I hope I never end up like that. And without realizing it, I was in the very same place. Forgetting, absent, feeling that something essential was slipping away bit by bit. The most painful thing wasn't the forgetting itself, it was what came with it, the insecurity, the fear, the frustration, the constant doubt. Did I say it or just think it? Did I take my pill or not? Am I repeating myself too much? Am I bothering others without realizing it? You start to distrust yourself, and that's the hardest part, because nobody teaches you to grow old with your mind intact. Nobody explains that decline doesn't always arrive suddenly, but rather settles in silently. It embeds itself in your routine, in your absent-minded moments, in your long pauses when you speak, and by the time you notice, it's already been living with you for quite a while. But the most dangerous thing of all is when you begin to accept it as inevitable, as if there were no turning back. I was there for months, but then I understood something that changed everything. That the mind, like the body, needs exercise, stimulation, fresh air, and that although the years advance, we're not condemned to lose it all. We only need tools, small habits, ways to shake off the dust and awaken those parts we thought were asleep, and that, exactly that, was what gave me hope again. What most older adults do wrong. One of the biggest problems when memory starts to fail is that many people simply accept it as part of the package, as if it were inevitable, as if aging meant giving up. How many times have you heard phrases like, "It's normal to forget. I'm at that age. There's nothing to be done. That's just how it is. What do you expect? My mind isn't the same." Those comments, though they seem harmless, are dangerous because they become beliefs, and when you believe there's nothing you can do, you stop trying. You surrender before you even start. I used to think that way too, until I began to pay attention to my circle. I have friends who, at 65, 70, even 80 years old, looked much more deteriorated than others of the same age. Why? Because they'd assumed they were already on the downward slope, that forgetting was part of the journey, and there was no way to stop it. One of them, Anthony, had always been an active man, but when he retired, he began to fade away. He'd spend hours watching television, hardly went out, stopped reading, and excused himself by saying, "I just don't retain anything anymore." When I suggested he try something new, like learning to use a smartphone or writing his memoirs, he replied, "Why bother? I don't have the head for it." Another friend, Peter, stopped talking as much at gatherings. He'd stay quiet, barely smile, and if someone asked him something, he'd say he preferred to listen. At first, I thought it was fatigue, but one day he confessed he avoided speaking because he didn't want to be embarrassed if he forgot a word mid-sentence. That's what many older adults do wrong. They resign themselves, they isolate themselves, they repeat the same routine every day as if there were nothing new to discover, and without realizing it, that very thing is what dulls the memory, because the mind, like any muscle, rusts if it's not used, if it's not challenged, if it's not fed with new things, with interaction, with purpose. They lock themselves in a comfort zone that isn't comfortable at all because it becomes a cage. Soft, yes, but a cage nonetheless. This is called passive aging. It's when you let life carry you rather than steering. It's when you stop learning, laughing, feeling excitement, being surprised. It's when you believe the world has nothing more to offer. And then there's active aging. It's not about running marathons or going to the gym. It's about attitude, about the small daily choices, reading a few pages, taking a walk and observing, engaging in new conversations, asking questions, keeping curiosity alive. I've met older people with brilliant minds who remember better than many young folks. The difference? They never stopped exercising their minds. They never gave up. That's why I want to tell you something important. If you've been telling yourself this is normal, that there's nothing to be done, I want you to put that belief on pause, because it's not true. And today you're here watching this video, seeking an answer, a possibility that already puts you on the right side, the side of active aging. It doesn't matter if you're 70, 80, or 90 years old. It's never too late to reconnect with your mind, to strengthen it, to recover what you thought was lost. The 3-minute habit. Conscious breathing. If someone had told me that something as simple as conscious breathing could help me recover my memory, I would have smiled kindly, but I wouldn't have believed it. And yet, that's how it all began. I didn't discover it in a book or see it on the internet. It was something more every day. One afternoon, my granddaughter came to visit. She's 20 years old and studying psychology. She saw me a bit distracted, as if lost in thought. She asked if I was okay. I replied with a smile, "Sometimes I enter a room and can't remember why I came." She looked at me, thought for a moment, and said, "Grandpa, have you tried doing pauses to train your attention? Just 3 minutes a day. It's called mindful attention. It's like exercise for the brain." I asked if it was meditation. She said not exactly, that it was simpler, and she taught me right there on the living room sofa. She explained that every morning, before checking my phone or talking to anyone, I should sit in silence with my back straight and my feet flat on the floor. Then, for 3 minutes, focus only on breathing. Feel the air enter through your nose, exit through your mouth. If your mind wanders, bring it back. And if you want to make it more powerful, imagine a scene that makes you feel calm and alert, as if your mind were clear and awake. That was it. No odd rituals or complicated techniques, just that. The first week, I did it out of affection for her, not conviction. I sat on the edge of the bed, closed my eyes, and breathed. Sometimes I got distracted. Other times I struggled to keep focus. There were days I wondered if I was wasting my time. But something deep inside me began to shift. It was subtle. It wasn't that I suddenly remembered everything like before, but I felt more present, more aware. I stopped walking with my head somewhere else. I began to notice details that had once slipped by. The texture of the tablecloth, the ticking of the clock, my wife's voice when she spoke from the kitchen. One morning, without thinking, I got up, went to the kitchen, and before opening the refrigerator, I remembered I was there for peach yogurt, not strawberry. It seemed trivial, but for me, it was a victory. It was in the third week that I began to notice I recalled more names, more conversations. I no longer had to ask my granddaughter 3 times where she was studying. I just knew it. Then I understood something essential. It wasn't magic, it wasn't a miraculous cure. It was something far more powerful. I had retrained my attention, and with attention, memory returned. Many believe memory operates on its own, like an automatic muscle, but it's not so. Memory depends on the quality with which we live each moment. If you live distracted, you don't remember. If you're present, your mind records what happens. That little 3-minute habit was like a reset button. Each morning, practicing it, I felt my mind organize itself, as if someone swept the cobwebs from my consciousness and left it cleaner. You don't need any gadget. You don't have to pay anything. You don't have to be an expert. You only need commitment. 3 minutes of your life every day, nothing else. And that's what I want you to understand. It's not about doing big things. It's about doing small things with consistency. And if you can do that, you're closer to retrieving your memory than you imagine. The accumulated effect. What changed in daily life? At first, I thought it was just coincidence. I remembered the new neighbor's name without asking twice. Then I found my glasses without searching the whole house. Small things, details. But the days went by, and those details kept adding up. One morning, my wife asked me to go to the market for bread, milk, apples, and coffee. Before, I would have written it down out of fear of forgetting. This time, I took a deep breath, repeated it mentally once, and left without a note. I came home with everything. That, to me, felt like climbing a mountain, not because of the shopping list itself, but because I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time: confidence. I began to notice I also remembered more of our conversations. I no longer went blank when someone said, "Do you recall what we talked about the other day?" Yes, I did, even the tone of voice, the feeling behind that chat. It happened with my grandson. He told me something important about his studies. Days later, I asked how his exam had gone. He looked at me, surprised. "Grandpa, you remembered." That expression on his face, that little gesture, was worth more than 1,000 words. In that moment, I realized I wasn't just regaining memory. I was restoring connections. I was reclaiming my place. And that began to reflect in my mood. I felt more awake in the mornings, more upbeat, as if instead of dragging my feet, I walked with purpose. I slept better too. Before, I struggled to fall asleep. I'd wake with my head full of scattered thoughts. Now, after my breathing exercise, I went to bed calmer, and my sleep grew deeper. I woke rested. My wife noticed too. "You've been cheerier lately, you even joke more." And it was true. I started telling bad jokes at the table again, like I used to. Sometimes I laughed to myself, recalling anecdotes from years ago. I thought I'd forgotten all of that. This silent rebirth led me to one clear conclusion. I recovered parts of myself I thought were lost. Because when you lose memory, it's not just names or dates that slip away. Pieces of your story, fragments of your identity escape, and when they come back, it's as if you returned too. It wasn't a miraculous change. It didn't happen overnight. But it was cumulative, like raindrops filling a well. One day you realized that the well you thought dry is full again. My thoughts grew clearer, my attention lasted longer, and most important, I stopped fearing forgetfulness, because now I had a tool, a simple practice that anchored me to the present and gave me back control. And that changed my life. Why a simple 3-minute habit has such impact. You may be wondering, how can something as simple as a 3-minute habit have such influence on memory? It's not magic, it's straightforward science, which I'll explain without complication. The brain, even at 80, 90, or more, never stops changing. This is called neuroplasticity. It means the connections between neurons can strengthen, renew, and even form anew. It used to be thought this happened only in youth, but now we know the brain keeps learning if properly stimulated. And that's exactly what this habit does. First, let's talk breathing. During those 3 minutes, you breathe slowly and deeply. Why is that important? Because slow, deep breaths oxygenate your blood better, and more oxygenated blood feeds the brain. It's like giving fresh water to a plant that seemed wilted. Neurons, the little cells that let us think, remember, and feel, need oxygen to perform well. When we breathe rapidly and shallowly, like when we're nervous or in a hurry, our brain doesn't get what it needs. But breathing slowly, deeply, and mindfully activates regions that often stay dormant, especially if we spend most of the day sitting or unchallenged. Next comes mindful attention. That means focusing only on what you're doing. During that short ritual, you don't think about yesterday or tomorrow. You just breathe, feel your body, and visualize something that brings you calm. This practice trains the mind like a muscle. Just as going to the gym strengthens arms or legs, this strengthens the brain. And it's not just anecdotal, real studies have confirmed it. For example, researchers at renowned universities like Harvard and Oxford studied older adults who did brief daily breathing and meditation exercises. The result? After just 8 weeks, they showed improvements in memory, concentration, and even mood. Interestingly, changes were visible in brain scans, as if certain areas reactivated and looked younger. In particular, these practices stimulate 2 key regions: the hippocampus, like a filing cabinet for recent memories, and the prefrontal cortex, which helps us focus, make decisions, and think clearly. Over time, these areas may slow down, but they're not dead, they just need stimulation. This 3-minute habit is like shining a light back on them. It's also proven that reducing stress improves memory, and this habit does that naturally. Mindful breathing lowers stress hormones, calms the heart, organizes thoughts, and lets the brain work with clarity. In short, these 3 minutes oxygenate the brain, reactivate dormant areas, reduce stress, improve concentration, strengthen memory, and best of all, you need no equipment, no technology, no pills, just your body, your breath, and your attention. I always say, if something so small can do so much, why not give it a try? In the next part, I'll show you step by step how to practice this habit at home, simply, correctly, and at your own pace. See you there. How to incorporate the habit without failing. So far, we've discussed what this habit is, how I discovered its effects, and how it works in the brain. But you might be wondering, how do I start? What do I need? Where do I do it? And how do I make sure I don't forget by day 3? Relax. That's exactly what we'll cover now. The first thing you need to know is this: if you can breathe, you can do this habit. No experience required, no athletic body, not even movement is necessary. You just need 3 minutes of calm, nothing more. When to do it? The best time is in the morning, right after waking, before checking your phone, turning on the TV, or worrying about breakfast.
Why?
Because your mind is still fresh, unbombarded by distractions, and much more receptive. Plus, beginning the day with mental clarity sets the tone for everything else. If you can't do it in the morning, a very good alternative is right before bed. That way, you help your brain relax and improve your sleep. Some people even do it twice, morning and night, but doing it once properly is enough to start reaping benefits. Where to do it? You don't need a special room, but you do need a quiet spot without interruptions. It can be your bedroom, a chair on the patio, or even the bathroom if it's the only place you're alone. The ideal is to turn that spot into your daily refuge. It doesn't matter how modest it is. What matters is making it your moment. What posture? You can sit or lie down. If sitting, support your back, relax your shoulders, and rest your hands on your legs. Close your eyes if comfortable. If lying down, lie on your back with arms at your sides. What matters most is that your body is relaxed yet alert. No perfect posture required, just comfort and presence. How long? Just 3 minutes. You can use a clock, a timer, or simply count breaths. On average, 12 to 15 deep breaths take about the right amount of time. Remember, 3 minutes every day is better than 15 once a week. Consistency is what turns this habit into real change. How not to forget? Here are some tricks. Tie it to an existing routine. Do it right after brushing your teeth or before your first coffee. Your mind will link both actions and make it automatic. Write a note and stick it where you'll see it, on your bathroom mirror, the fridge, or your nightstand. Set a gentle alarm with a friendly message, 3 minutes for you. Don't see it as an obligation, it's a gift to yourself, a little care moment for your brain. What if you can't do it one day? We all have days when we're tired, sick, or simply unmotivated. It's okay. In those cases, do just 1 minute. Take 5 deep breaths, close your eyes, and silently repeat a calming word, thank you, I'm here, peace. Even if you can't do the full habit, you maintain the connection. What matters is not breaking the bond with yourself. And if you miss a whole day, don't beat yourself up. Just start again the next day as if nothing happened. That's it. Remember this phrase, if you can breathe, you can do this. It doesn't matter your age, your fitness, or your past. This habit asks for no strength, no youth, no perfection. It only asks you to be present. And believe me, 3 minutes a day can give back what the years slowly took away. Real stories, others who tried it too. I'm not the only one whose life changed with this 3-minute habit. After noticing changes in myself, I felt a strong need to share it. First, I mentioned it to close friends, then to companions at the day center, even to neighbors in the square each afternoon. Some listened with curiosity, others with skepticism, but a few decided to try. Let me briefly tell you what happened with them, because when something works, you can't keep it to yourself. Mrs. Helen, 79 years old. Helen was a lovely woman, though a bit dimmed. A widow for several years, she spent much time alone. She told me one day, lately, I enter a room and don't remember why. I feel clumsy, like I'm losing parts of myself. I showed her the habit. She began practicing it in the mornings. By the 3rd week, she called me excited. Today, I effortlessly recalled my daughter's birthday. I hadn't done that in years. But beyond memory, what impressed me most was her spark. She seemed more present, more alive, as if someone had switched on a light in her gaze. Mr. Armand, 83 years old. Armand was skeptical. At my age, there's nothing left to save my head, he laughed. But one day, after mixing up his grandson's name at a family gathering, something shifted. He asked me to teach him the habit. He started doing it every other day. Sometimes he forgot. Sometimes he got distracted. But little by little, he felt something settle within him. After a month, he confessed, today I told a whole story to my great-granddaughter without losing the thread even once. His eyes shone with pride, and she listened to me like a sage. The secret is consistency. The truth is, not everyone achieved the same results. Some, like Helen and Armand, practiced it consistently as a daily ritual. Others tried it a couple of times and then gave up. And that's where the difference showed. Those who stayed consistent improved not only memory, but also mood, clarity of thought, and even relationships. Those who abandoned it early said, I didn't feel anything special. Of course not. It's not a magic pill. It's more like watering a plant. If you water it every day, it blooms. If you water it only when you remember, it withers. A transformation that crosses personal boundaries. Over time, I realized this didn't just help memory. It helped rebuild relationships, restore meaningful conversations, strengthen bonds that were weakening from forgetfulness. Imagine a group of elders more attentive, more present, more connected to their surroundings. Imagine livelier chats, card games with fewer, how did we play this again? Grandchildren's visits without frustrated looks at repeated stories. When someone recalls better, everyone around them benefits. Family, friends, caregivers. It's not just for you, it's for those around you. Because when an older person becomes more present, more lucid, more connected, others feel calmer, closer, more motivated, and that's something no medicine can give. Final thoughts. Your body deserves this chance. If you've made it this far, thank you, not only for listening to my story, but for allowing yourself to reflect on something many believe is lost, memory. We've journeyed together from forgetfulness to hope. I spoke of early signs of decline, the frustration of forgetting a conversation with a grandson, the sadness of looking at a grocery list and not knowing why you wrote it. But I also shared how a simple 3-minute habit can awaken what seemed forever dormant. Today, I can say with certainty, memory isn't completely lost. It only needs to be awakened, like a lamp that hasn't gone out but is covered by the dust of time, routine, resignation, and you can dust it off. You can reignite it. You don't have to be young. You don't need degrees. You don't need big tools. You only need 3 things: 3 minutes, a bit of silence, and the desire to reconnect with your mind. That's why I propose something simple but powerful. Do this habit for 7 consecutive days. Just 7 days. Breathe, focus, visualize. Do it upon waking or before bed, in your favorite chair, with the window open or closed, whatever you prefer. But do it 3 minutes a day. I ask nothing more. And then see how you feel. Notice if you start remembering more names, if you feel more present in conversations, if you wake with greater clarity. Sometimes changes are small, almost invisible. But over time, those small shifts open doors you thought closed. It doesn't matter how old you are. As long as you have 3 minutes and the will, you can reclaim what you thought was lost. Before I say goodbye, I have one special request. If you decide to try this habit, leave me a comment sharing your experience. Did it help you? Did you feel different? Did you share it with someone? Perhaps what you write will reach someone else who feels forgotten. And maybe, thanks to you, someone else will recover a part of themselves. Thank you for accompanying me on Health Vibes. Thank you for believing, even if just for a moment, that there's still light within you. Because there is. I send you a big hug wherever you are. And remember, it's never too late to remember again.